Hi, I'm Tom Dubois from evōx Television.
And I'm David from motivanti.com.
So, listen, David, can you give us a little bit of your story? I want to know how you created your company. What were the driving factors that had you do that? Because I feel like you're on the cusp of some really big trend right now, and people are trying to find their way to it and figure out how are you making money from it. Give us some of your story.
Yeah, sure. So I actually, kind of an interesting background. Before Motivanti, I was in the Middle East as a conflict journalist. So I guess my friends joked I went from the Arab Spring to the Spring Collection. But
That's great.
I came back and I wanted to start a business with social impact, and we've seen the Whole Foods. We've seen the we've seen the organic foods revolution in Whole Foods. We're seeing kind of Tesla drive the electric car revolution, and it hadn't really taken hold in fashion, and yet fashion is the second biggest industry in the world to agriculture, and it's one of the dirtiest. So there is an opportunity to make a social impact through what we wear, and that's how Motivanti came about.
Wow. And when you look back in your history, like before your journalism career, were you an activist of any sort, or how would you frame yourself growing up?
I was really involved growing up, we always ate organic foods. We recycled. We were like very much aware.
Where are you from?
I'm from Indiana, but
Wow, they were really ahead of the trends.
My parents were from the East Coast, and so they had that kind of more mentality. But in college, again, I was in a lot of social entrepreneur clubs and environmental groups, and it was important. And living in the Middle East, actually, you can see the difference in how, like, the mindset. And they're much further behind us, and you see people like trashing, just throwing trash everywhere. It's it's really quite dirty, and you can see the effect on people's lives. And that, I lived in Cairo, and the smog is incredible. The sun sets an hour earlier in Cairo every night because of the smog, because of the pollution, and a lot of that is not fashion, but fashion is a big part of that, and it's a huge industry, and it needed people need to kind of change how we think about what we wear. We can't anymore just buy the $5 t-shirt that was made in sweatshops. That's not sustainable. You can't buy these
for a lot of reasons. It's not sustainable for people's living.
Exactly.
For all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to also start being more conscious of the environmental impact as well. One of the favorite things we like to say is that on a daily basis we're wearing 15 to 20 cancer-causing pesticides in our shirts and our jeans.
Wow.
And you think about that, and you wouldn't eat pesticides. You wouldn't you don't you try not to. A lot of people wouldn't put pesticides on their face. Why are we wearing it?
Wow. So how do you, when you look at do you focus on the Western consumer at all right now? I mean, is that a primary target for you, or is it kind of global for you in scope?
Well, I would wish it was global. I mean, we're relatively small, so we're focused in America only. But Europe is definitely the leader in terms of the sustainable fashion movement. Places like Scandinavia, London, they're the leaders. It's starting to catch on in America in a much bigger way, and so that's kind of that's very exciting for us, but eventually we'd love to be global. But right now we're based in the States.
So how do you provide consulting in your company at all for companies who want to start taking that pathway, or do you consider that you're a trendsetter, you're ahead of a trend, but do you see that other companies are starting to adopt more of these kinds of concepts that you guys have embedded in your own company?
Eventually, yes. I mean, right now we are more try to be an education source for a consumer, and not as much for designers. I feel like some designers are even ahead of us, and they're they really know this stuff, and a lot of designers are switching and being more conscious of how they produce and what materials they source. But for us, we try to be an education resource for the consumers. So we have a blog and on our site as well. You can come and you can learn about the clothing and where it was made, how it was made, by whom it was made, and what it's made of. And that's kind of the story about sustainability. Knowing those stories and being able to be proud of those stories is when you're like really embracing the sustainable fashion lifestyle. So that's what we try to provide consumers, and we have a badge system on our site. So that's broken down into being eco-friendly and ethically sourced. So you can shop just, I need a pair of jeans, I really need a new dress, new pair of shoes, or you can come on and say, I'm a new mom, I only buy organic, and you can search by organic, or I really support Made in USA, and search by that. So it gives the consumer the power to put their values and their style together.
And how do you get that
Same way.
data? How does that data unfold so you can give your consumers that choice?
Sure. So we work with different brands. So we work with right now I think 70 brand partners, but each brand has a badge, and they have to do that badge 100%, fulfill that badge 100%. So when you're a consumer, you can search and say, like I said, you can only search organic, and you see all the different brands that are 100% organic.
And do you work out some sort of plan with them? So if they meet a certain part of a standard and they want to grow into that, does your company help provide a pathway for them in that?
Eventually. I mean, we're too new to really get into that, but eventually, we really want to. We're working with one other startup where that is like a Kickstarter fashion, and we are helping them so that when they produce, that those new emerging designers that are just starting out have the resources to be able to source organic materials and have the manufacturing facilities to stay in the States, because that's where it starts, right? I mean, once a designer or brand sends their product production overseas, it's very hard to get it back. Once you get involved in the supply chain, it's very hard to break that cycle and bring it back. And companies are doing that, but it is not an easy process, and a lot of times it's a very difficult process just to know where to even start, where to begin, where can I produce, what's available to me. So we are working with that other startup to kind of make that a little bit easier.
That is really great.
Yeah.
What's the thing that inspires you most about your own business right now?
I just think it's making a difference. It's you feel like you get up every morning, you're excited because you feel like you are on a part of something that's bigger and that's happening, and you're seeing the trend is really taking off. And personally, for me, we give 2% of every sale to 3 partnering charities, one of them being that other startup, but the other 2 being this group called Nest, which works with women artisans around the world to empower them and give them a better standard of living and allow them to source their material source their materials to the West. And the other one's Charity Water, which does work with building wells to provide clean water in emerging countries and developing economies. And that's really cool. So every time every sale we do, we give 2%. That's really, really exciting. And we're small, so the impact is minimal. But as we grow, the potential for really significant impact is really powerful and motivating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear. So how do you guys make money right now? If the evōx viewers right now, if they wanted to support your organization, what's
Sure.
the best way to support you?
You go to motivanti.com and you just shop.
That's it.
Find your favorite pair of jeans, find a top or a dress, and then when you check out, you can choose kind of which group you want to give your money to. So it's that's that easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to say to the evōx audience?
I mean, I'm really excited to be interviewed here and be part of it. I think what you guys are doing is really great. I'm really excited to kind of follow along and see all the other real change makers and innovators that are going to be on the site and that are also kind of working towards a more just and fair and environmental sustainable world.
Thank you. Well, we're on the startup path with you too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a few months older than
Yeah,
us, really.
exactly.
And it's just like, all the energy we're putting into our mutual companies. And it's been interesting, like sometimes when you're talking to investors and you're talking to, the community at large, they want, who are your competitors? Who are your competitors? And I'm like, in this space, it's all about collaboration.
Exactly.
And so you want every company to win. I mean, everyone who's at South by Southwest Eco, fundamentally, you just want to go, how can I help you? How can we help you win your game? And because we all win.
Exactly. Because I mean, there's a lot more than doing well or making money. This community, you really feel like the innovation and the change that we're driving it's so exciting, and you feel like you have to be part of it because that's the future. What we're doing is the future of kind of business and commerce and television, and it's really exciting to be on the cutting edge.
Well, one of the things we've been dealing with, one of our brand values is prosperity. It's prosper. And so we know that, for years it's been this notion when you're doing good that, the people doing good make less. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing needs to be completely dispelled.
Agreed.
I mean, it's so ridiculous. So when I look at all the innovation here, all I'm listening for is how are we as a community, bringing the money back into the pockets of the people who are the innovators, who are the game changers on this planet right now. Companies like yours, companies like mine, and the companies at South by Southwest. Yeah. So, I'm just very interested in people taking that step and going, no, we are not settling for less because we're up to doing great stuff on the planet. We are the ones who should have the most amount of wealth here. Exactly. And I trust it in people's hands that way.
It's putting people, planet, and profit on the same plane. And, you see like Tesla is the perfect example. I mean, they're killing it. You know, they're just selling like crazy, and they're expanding, and they're the ones doing it right. And I think people are starting to be attracted to that. I think people are starting to look for the companies that are not just on trend or whatever, what have you, but also are doing it right and have that mission behind them. Because at this end of the day, if you came to our site, different site, and you saw two dresses that are exactly the same, similar price, similar quality, our quality is probably better. It's organic, right? It's handmade. Why wouldn't you go for the organic, made in USA dress? If it, why not?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
So I think that's what consumers are starting to see, and what we're excited about.
And what the shareholders are saying too. Like, I was at a dinner with Elon Musk on Wednesday, and he had shared that he wrote a letter to the board of directors just 2 weeks prior about that profit wasn't the main thing that was driving Tesla. And he got a lot of flack from, obviously, the board, but the community that got hold of the letter, their stock went up like this. And it was very interesting to see that the market is ready for CEOs and executives to say, hey, it's all of it. It's profit, it's people, it's planet. And then I heard a new one the other day, it's and consciousness.
Yeah.
And when you put all that together, you're starting to get companies, like Tesla, and you're getting companies like yours and companies like evōx, where we're saying bring it all together, and then have your shareholders really get that message that you can make a lot of profit in a business that's structured this way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the stories that we like to tell is this girl, she came to apply to work for us, and unfortunately we were small and didn't have a position, but I was talking to her, and I was like, you had this great job at Bloomingdale's. What happened? And she's like, well, I had to go to China, and I had to go to China for months to look at the manufacturing and the sourcing and make sure that production was going. And I just couldn't take going to China anymore, because I was going to these remote places that are full of pollution and smog, where the working conditions are awful, and they're awful, and they only clean it up 5 minutes before I get there.
Right.
And it just wore on me, and I had this great job, I loved it, I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I want to fit my work with my values.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, to answer your question earlier, I think that's what's so exciting.
Yeah.
That our values are fitting what we're doing. So.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for your time. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely, it was great.
Look forward to hearing more stories from you and your success.
Well, thank you, and you do as well, and see you tonight, right?
We'll see you tonight.
See you tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you.